In the secondary, they've got their especially the number one, the boundary safety, really active, very run support oriented, comes down, physical tackler, a guy that you got to kind of account for when you're running the football and that. And then he's also kind of a middle of the field headhunter kind of guy out there that's going to look to light guys up, so it shows up. But a lot of 4 down from them. They kind of base themselves out of a quarter package, quarters, and then they've got the adjustments to formations, and they've got multiple adjustments. I mean, you kind of see it from game to game, so a little bit of that will happen as the game's going. Or are they going to I mean, we have different terms for all this stuff. Are they going to triangle, or are they going heavy with it in their quarter package, and then they get the man coverage? And then out of their blitzes, they don't just do one coverage. A lot of teams will just play man out behind their blitzes or just be a zone team behind their blitzes. You see man from them, you see zone from them, you see 2 safety zones. So they're kind of multiple in that way. That's probably where they give you the most variety, is their coverage and their pressure.
I looked back earlier this afternoon. This game was officially announced on August the 6th, I think it was. Of course, it had been rumored for a little while before that. When did y'all actually begin preparations on them, and how much time do you usually take to prepare for a non-conference opponent in a normal year?
Well, normally what you do is you know about it back, and what we do is we find time during spring football where we kind of take, and normally depending on when the game falls. What I do on offense is we normally work our way backwards, and we normally work from the 3rd or 4th game backwards to the 1st game is how we kind of did it. So when we started off, I mean, we did this while we were in quarantine. We started off, we went, and we kind of did it from the previous stuff. So we had Iowa State is who we kind of went through, and then we moved on to Arizona, and then we went through UTEP, and then we went through, we went through Arizona, and then we went through Alabama State, and then we went through UTEP, kind of in that order, and kind of spent the normal amount of time. And you normally spend, like the 4th game, we'd spend like 2 days on it, and then we go to 3 days, and then we do 4 days on the first 2 opponents, always. This one we started, it was in July. We got the video kind of transferred over and put on the system. The graduate assistants got it all broke down. We've spent parts of kind of our fall camp here because we've had some downtime. We've had some days off in between for whatever different reasons, and we've kind of carved it out. We were able to get through kind of a full game plan week on them that way. We were able to kind of get through games, then go through the cut-ups, get to meet as a whole offensive staff, put it on the board, do it the way we kind of did it, and then we've been able to go back once and kind of review it against it. And then today yesterday we started watching the game video, kind of making sure we liked what we'd kind of game planned for them. Did that again this morning for the situational stuff. Yesterday was more 1st and 2nd down, and we'll continue that. Now with what we're putting on video, we'll look at that against what we're seeing and make sure we feel comfortable with all that. But we've gotten a full on these guys, just like after that we had to kind of jump into it. We've been able to work on Texas during the time, and then we got to work on K-State some too. So, and that it's just always collecting video, and when people change coordinators, that's always a pain. These guys didn't, so it was a little, that helps you out a little bit because you're able to kind of get into what they did last year against the formations we've seen. And then you read as much as you can if they've talked anything about any scheme changes or anything.
As far as your personnel goes, what significant developments have there been with guys on your side of the ball since, last couple of weeks, since the last time we talked to you?
Well, I think
what have you seen, or what concerns do you have?
Well, we've had guys in and out with the COVID stuff from either positive tests or close contact. So I think that's affected some of especially those young guys all of a sudden like being out of practice and then being back in and kind of getting themselves back in. So you've seen a little bit probably more of the freshmen hit the wall a little bit on some things because all of a sudden you're stuck in your apartment for a while, or all of a sudden you're back. They haven't run as much. All of a sudden everything's going fast again and that. So you've seen it a little bumpier by some of the young kids in that way. Our running back position has been really, really strong throughout. With those 4 guys that we've talked about, Sir Roderick and X-White and Taj and then and Townsend have really been able to kind of, even as guys have been in and out for whatever reason, and also it's not all COVID related. You also get guys dinged up and banged up in fall camp. So we've been able to kind of get through that pretty good, especially at the running back position, to where that position looks really, really strong from top to bottom. Whoever ends up as the guy behind Sir Roderick, the first guy in, we feel really good about it, and then the next guy in, we feel good about it, and the next guy. So that's been really positive. We've had to cross-train some more guys on the O-line as far as guards and tackles. Dawson's played a ton of center for us. He's also played a bunch of guard for us. Jack Anderson's played a bunch of center for us during camp. Weston Wright has played a bunch of center doing fall camp for us, which has been really good for them in the big picture of things, and it will be for us too if that ever comes about. The tackle positions are we've been rotating those 6 guys through that a lot, and we've made progress there, and really the evaluation will continue this Saturday. We're probably going to see 4, possibly 5 guys playing the tackle positions for us in this first game, because it's what we've been able to get from scrimmages isn't what you're used to or normal. So we're going to have to a little bit of that's going to be on the fly. A little bit of that's evaluate as we go type thing. And also it takes a little pressure off them not having to be a guy for the whole expectation for a whole game that way. The receivers have been being able to bounce back and forth. We're doing the same thing there. Easy's played X and Z for us. Vashers went back and forth. Seth Collins has went back and forth. Trey Cleveland's went back and forth. Some of the freshmen we've kept on their side just to try to keep it from becoming a really mishmash or too much information in their heads. And then the tight end position has gotten really a lot deeper in depth just really in the last week as we've gotten all those guys back and going. You got Kuntz, you got Killian, you got Holcomb, we got Lloyd, you got Gonzalez. We got a lot more depth there. It gives us a lot more opportunities, and quite a few guys there are earning possibilities of being able to get on the field for us. So now it's who's the best. It's not just I'm good enough. It's like who are the best, who gives us the best chance to be successful.
Go to Eric Kelly.
Coach, you mentioned having that game tape of a team, and you had an understanding of what they were going to look like, but how valuable is having a game tape of a season opening opponent, especially in a year where maybe you haven't been able to see as much of them as usual?
It's a huge deal. We feel very lucky that we get a game on them and they don't have a game on us, because they're going to see stuff from last year, and that's kind of what it is. But they've also, unless they go back to the beginning, that was Jet Duffy playing quarterback, not Allen. Sir Roderick's playing. There are some different receivers that are in now. O-line were a little bit different. So you always have that personnel that adjusts and changes a little bit to try to be able to game plan that or to just evaluate that. And scheme-wise, there's not a lot of changes for us, but there's always little wrinkles and little things you do differently. And same thing with them. As we watched them, there were a few little things and they're not drastic scheme-wise, but there's things that they're doing a little different. And some of their tracks and some of their pressures and how they're bringing their pressure, and then how their secondaries spinning down or rolling down or attacking that way. So having that on video really, I think, gives us a little bonus in the confidence that we have an expectation on what it's going to look like, what it's going to be from them as it goes. And that now the negative of that is that normally a team improves the most from week 1 to week 2, and we're going to get their big improvement, whereas they're going to get our first game out of the box. So there's always give and take, but having that game has been really good because we can verify some things that we thought we liked, and some of it we still like, some of it we're like, oh, maybe we like something different.
Two more for you. First one, at the running back spot, you talked about how strong it is. Is there going to be a time where you're like, okay, we need to pick one guy to be the second, or if they all keep performing well, are you perfectly comfortable just riding the hot hand the whole year?
Well, we have no problem with that. Me and Coach Smith are working together as long as we have. We've dealt with that and done that. What we kind of want to lean on is that, hey, we got a 1 and we got a 2. And then the 1 and the 2 kind of dictate out what their rate of exchange is. Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30 in that way? If a third guy is in position where he's playing as well as the number 2, then guess what? We do want to get those guys in, but sometimes we don't want that to take away from what the number 2 guy is able to bring to the table in that. So and that adds to the competition for those guys, and they understand. Accountability, durability, and availability are the most important abilities. You got to make sure you're there and you're able to do everything all the time that way, and it gives us some depth there to work with. In that position, probably the biggest, and we dealt with it last year, they get banged up the most. They get tackled the most. They get the most probably contact, other than the old line, but violent contact that happens in a game. The running backs are probably on the top end of that. And you saw us last year. We went into that last game last year with Sir Roderick, and Jack Welch was our backup. And we started the year, Jack was really, when we started fall camp, our expectation was Jack was going to be our 5th guy. Well, he ended up being our 2, so you can never have enough at that position, but you'd like to have a 1 and a 2 that kind of separate themselves, and that's good competition for those guys to kind of keep competing as we go through the season.
And last one, not really a surprise, but anytime you look at the depth chart, I think most people's eyes go to the quarterback position. You've talked in the past couple of weeks about Allen needs to separate himself, and these guys and the other 2 guys behind him need to keep it close. Has one or the other been happening? Has Allen separated himself from that group of the other 2?
Yeah, Allen has performed at a really high level for us all camp. Basically, it kind of was never in doubt. And it was nice to see him. He wasn't really competing with those guys. I think in his mind, he was more competing with himself to be the best he can be and be the best guy to lead our offense. So that's been really good for him. And really, he's only taken 1 reps during camp, and I was able to steal a few of those away from him the other day just to kind of get really Henry and Maverick more reps in just the last week, just to kind of up that, for their competition, because there was a lot of competition between those guys, and that'll continue on as we go, but as we move forward. But no, Allen kind of separated himself, and now what we need a really strong number 2 quarterback to kind of emerge from that group as we kind of move forward.
Go to Nathan.
What, if anything, do you kind of change from year 1 to year 2, and does that depend on just how many skill position guys come back for you?
Well, we try not to change a lot. I mean, the basis of our structure is that we kind of know who we are and what we do, but we want to evolve around the personnel we have, making sure we're taking full advantage of the skill guys we have at each position. And tight ends is a position that kind of changes a lot. It's what's the strength of that position for us? Is it how are they in the run game? Do they make our gap scheme go better? Are they better in our zone game? How are they on the vertical passing game? Are they more of short to intermediate guys, or can we get them vertical? So all those things kind of go into that from that position. When you're dealing with the outside receivers, it's a lot of times you're dealing with a lot of the same characteristics. Are they vertical threats? Are they guys you want to get the ball to in short space? They can make big things, or are they more vertical guys you got to hit? So that's how you produce the big plays. Running back, it's kind of what do they run the best, and that. So we kind of try to. That's really the adjustment we make. So we made a big focus last year. Our third down situational stuff was not up to par with what we wanted. Spent a lot of time on that in the off season, kind of studying ourselves, studying other people, studying what's best out there. We've made some adjustments in that, and kind of how we go about getting into those, what we put on the quarterback, what we're going to ask from, and some of it is scheme-wise too. So there's some different things that we're doing that way to try to take advantage of how defenses have kind of evolved over the last few years in that way. And then normally the second year for us is we're able to go faster, and that's kind of a big push for us, is we want to be 1 second faster than last year. Last year we were right around 23.4 for the season was our average snap or simulated snap on the game clock, on the play clock. We'd like to get that up in the 29s. I mean, 29, something in the 29s is kind of our goal. The O-line set it, and we've kind of all grabbed onto it as an offense. So that's a big part. But we want to be able to play faster. When we're playing fast, we want to be faster than we were last year, and we should. The expectation is that's what kind of goes on in the second year. And then just the knowledge of our guys, what Deaton is able to do at center position as far as getting us into the right protection, the best protection, picking up the pressures and those types of things to keep the pocket as clean as he can. What Sir Roderick's able to kind of take from his time last year and add to it. So all that stuff's his database is full of information, but you kind of rely on that information that way, and you can see it from the guys that were here last year. You see kind of a maturation, but a maturity, but also the kind of the next step in the technique and the fundamentals. And then what you got to do is you got to get those young guys, those new guys, and even guys that were here last year, maybe were on scout team. You got to get those sped up as much as you can, so they're not behind, and they're not playing because they can't do it. It's because they got to play for us. We need them to play. We need them to play significantly for us.
We'll finish up with
Well, and then
Don.
you kind of mentioned that you kind of have some guys in and out with COVID or injuries or whatever. Has that kind of accelerated how you brought along those younger guys, those new guys, or were you going to do that anyway? Did it just kind of expedite the process?
I think it just expedited. We kind of talked about it as a staff coming out of spring football, and we only had those 4 practices, but we felt that freshman class coming in and some of those guys that had redshirted, we got to give them every opportunity to kind of show their athleticism and all that, and they're going to take some reps away from some other guys, and they have. And then the COVID thing is kind of just added to it because it's made it so all of a sudden a guy goes from being third team to first team. And that would happen a lot of times in fall camp anyway, because you'd go into all of a sudden you go into a one-on-one period or a skelly period, and you walk out of it, and there's 3 guys hobbling around from one, and it always seems like it's one position. And all of a sudden, Coach Filani's saying such and such is moving over to X. He's going to be the one. It's like, oh, okay, here we go. And that's good. It challenges those guys in that, and sometimes it lasts for a day, sometimes it lasts for an hour. So we've tried to speed it up as much as we can that way, but it's been going good that way. And those freshmen have responded very well. And I mean, they hit walls. I mean, this fall camp seems like it's been a long time with the OTA stuff, and then the fall camp on and off, in and out. It's been a long time, but we're excited to get to go play somebody else.
We'll finish with Don.
David, along the lines of saying, obviously going to play at that fast tempo and get your snaps, being able to snap at 29 seconds, what, with guys being in and out for COVID or injuries or whatever reason, how is conditioning right now? How ready are guys conditioning-wise to play at that pace?
Well, some of them are really good because they haven't missed any time, and they've been with us and Shoals for an extended period of time, and Shoals feels really good. And there's a few guys that you're gonna see them. They're gonna get a little more tired, and we're gonna have to rotate them a little bit more. And what we try to do is when that happens, each coach, the reason we do some of the things that we do, like Coach Filani's on the sideline, Coach Luke Wells is on the sideline, Coach Smith is on the sideline. The reason those guys are on the sideline, they're the best guys at evaluating their players as far as, do they need a breath? Do they need to not start this series? Do I need to give them 2 plays off, or do I need to give them 3 plays off? So that's the reason those guys are down there. They do the best job of evaluating that because they know their guys the best. So we have them down there so they can do that. So if we need to do that, you're going to see us do a little bit more of our look stuff, because when we want to sub, you're going to see us. We're going to be doing we're not going to go fast when we sub and everything. Now we will simulate the snap, but we're not snapping it fast there. And everybody we play knows that as they watch us. When we look and when subs are coming in, that's when we don't go fast. And it happens every now and then. We're mess it up sometimes. All of a sudden somebody needs to come out, and I've already called it. We kind of go with it. But most of the time that's when we're kind of able to catch our breath. Hopefully we don't have a lot of guys that need extra time off, but there's going to be some. We understand that, and we kind of work on that during the week. And like this week, we started today. We had a tempo period, flew through it, had 24 snaps, got it off, and really we got it off in just under 11 minutes, 24 snaps, so we were averaging better than 3 snaps a minute, which is what we were kind of shooting for there. And then throughout the rest of the week, we have periods where we get to go against Coach Patterson on defense. We go 1s versus 1s or 1s versus 2s in that, and when that occurs, that's when we get to work on our tempo. We don't work on our tempo against our scouts. That doesn't really do us any good. It doesn't help us get the looks or to prepare properly that way, so we have to do it when we get to go against Coach Patterson. So I think we got a few periods of that tomorrow. We'll get a few of that on Wednesday. We might get an extra one on Wednesday in that way, and then Thursday we're just all scout work, so that's when we'll get to work on it. But we're going to have some guys that are all of a sudden you're going to see dragging a little bit on Saturday, hopefully on their side of the ball, and there's going to be a couple probably on our side of the ball, but we got to work them through that, and it'll make us play a few more guys.
Going back to running backs for just a second, Judge, based on what you said a few moments ago, since you mentioned Sir Roderick and Xavier White and Townsend and Todd Brooks, it sounded like all 4 of those guys have pretty much been available most every day. Is that accurate?
I'm not allowed to say any of that, but no, they've all gotten to practice quite a bit with us. Now, I'm not saying who has been with us the whole time or who's not. You can ask Coach Patterson; he's got that list and everything. But no, they've gotten a lot. All those guys have gotten a lot of work and everything, and we feel really good. And the thing, like Taj and Xavier White has been really impressive with, and even Chad, is protection, because Chad was kind of running back receiver, playing some DB when he was at Alabama. So he didn't just specialize in running back, so he hasn't spent as much time at the running back position as what a normal guy in his going into his fourth year would be understanding protections and being able to kind of step in there. Taj, I mean, there's very few high school guys you ever see that actually help out in protection that way. And Taj has done a great job stepping up. And I mean, he will step in there and he'll stick his face in there and block people that way. And then Xavier White, who's moving from slot receiver, goes in there, and I mean, he'll throw it in there, and he's coming off a couple of shoulders that we had to work on last year. So all those guys have done a nice job with that. But no, they've all done a really good job, and they've gotten a ton of reps. So we feel good about whichever one of those guys is on the field for us. We got an explosive, dynamic playmaker there. So that's a good thing for us.
They go very fast. They're obviously an air raid, kind of a carbon copy of Cliff Kingsbury, really. They a lot of RPOs. You saw that was pretty evident against North Texas the other night. Had a chance to watch every game they played a year ago. And so, yeah, I think I got a pretty good feel for how I think they're going to try to attack and things that they do really well. And, like I said, it's unique in the fact that they snapped the ball 96 times the other night. So this game's liable to last about 6 hours. Us going fast, them going fast. So, it's just one of those things that you just want to try to be sharp. And, the first game out, not a lot of scrimmaging throughout the course of spring. But, yeah, I think we're fairly familiar with how I think they're going to try to attack us.
All right, we'll go to Billy Watson.
Hey, Coach, just want to get your I guess your saying on how you got to get Alex Hogan in the top spot at corner. What did you see out of him that earned him that starting spot at corner?
Well, it was obviously it was evident a year ago. I mean, I could see his competitive spirit, and he just was one of those guys that's been consistent from the day we've gotten back and just improved. Has really bought into being aggressive at corner, cutting off vertical routes and challenging people. So I really liked what I've seen from him. He's been extremely consistent from the day one of camp. Been very proud of his maturity and his development, and excited to see how that translates throughout the season.
Go to Nathan.
How much of a benefit is it to have a couple of linebackers in Colin and Brandon coming in that not only have experience, but experience at big programs to kind of fill some of that void that's left by the loss of Jordan Brooks?
Yeah, I think you'll be pleased with Krishawn Merriweather and the physical presence that he brings to the middle of the defense. Obviously, seems like to me a little bit more athletic version of Rico Jeffers. Then obviously, that those guys were here throughout the spring, and then I really it's invaluable because really not so much that they come from Michigan State or come from a Power 5 conference school. Really, to me, what it has created is a competition level, which we didn't have a year ago. And there's only a certain ceiling, and you can only get so good if there's no competition at DB and at linebacker. If you know you're going to play, you don't really have to push yourself. To me, the biggest difference with bringing these guys in, now we've created competition at every single position. You better raise your level of focus, intensity, practice habits, not only up at linebacker, but also up front. So I think that's going to create more consistency and develop more consistency and depth within our defense, and I think that's going to show for improvement.
Go to Don Williams.
Hey, Coach.
Hey, Don.
I noticed on the depth chart that you guys released earlier today at Spur, you had listed Eldridge, Kosai Eldridge, then Jacob Morgenstern, and also DeMarcus Fields. Should we take from that you could use that position to kind of, based on personnel grouping, a different style of player depending on down and distance or what your call is?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think that's where we were fairly limited last year. We didn't really have that position, the depth at that position to where now we can go matchups, and I think people took advantage of us later in the season. You got a small guy out there, and they have a big tight end at the number 2 position to the field. Now they're blocking a nickel all the time. so we got different body types that we can throw at people, and obviously match up personnel groupings like you're saying. Again, which I think is going to show for marked improvement in what we're trying to do defensively. And we have a lot of guys that have really rotated through at that position. We've dual trained a lot of guys with people in and out of practice. It's allowed us to dual train certain people, that the ones that can handle it, the ones that have the experience. So yeah, you're right on track there. I mean, we're going to be able to match up with people a little bit more efficiently than what we did a year ago.
And also, on Colin Schooler, obviously he has as good a, on paper, credentials as any defensive player in the country. You know, the first couple of weeks of camp, it seemed like you had a pretty good idea of who your linebackers were gonna be. How did you react when you saw, A, one, that his name was in the transfer portal, and then B, when he chose y'all?
Yeah, obviously we were pleased, and I think that it, I was excited. Obviously, I'm very familiar with Colin, and once he went into the portal, I thought, man, we're a linebacker-friendly system, and I thought, I think we could use one more guy to create that much more depth, and obviously be able to get an older, more experienced player, and hopefully, eventually get those guys on the field. Our linebacking core now, I mean, just in a period of a couple of months, and throughout the course of the spring, is probably one of the strongest units on our team. And again, you lose a first round draft pick, and obviously, we had some other changes within our team at that position, and I just thought that here's an opportunity for us to be able to create some depth, create some maturity, and a physical presence. I mean, when you look at our linebackers this year, I mean, it's as an impressive looking a group as I've coached, period, all the way across the board. I mean, you look at their size, you look at their physical nature, you look at their athleticism. It's exciting to see how that group is going to really transcend throughout the course of the season, and I'm excited to watch these guys.
Y'all had Schooler listed as a first-team guy, listed as a starter. Was that expected when he walked in the door, or
Yeah.
is just kind of, he's a guy who's played so much football that it was kind of
Yeah,
easier to
I tell you what,
grasp what you're doing pretty quickly?
yeah, that's what blew me away about him. I mean, he comes in here, and I mean, obviously, we just throw him out there, and I mean, here the guy, I mean, he's still got a long way to go, obviously, of getting the major, an understanding. But what was impressive, we just throw the guy out there, and I mean, you can just see he's just so experienced and so seasoned that, man, nothing fazed him. But there's still competition. I mean, like I said, you got Merriweather, Rico, Schooler, Brandon Randall. I call him Big Cheetah. Jacob Morgenstern. I mean, there's a 6'4", 220-pound linebacker. Kosai Eldridge is the athletic linebacker. So you're going to see a lot of sub packages with these guys, and you'll see us rotating a lot of these guys early, and then the ones that perform at the highest level, obviously, are going to earn more playing time, and that's a luxury that obviously we did not have a year ago.
Go to Brendan Solis.
Hey Coach, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. Just taking a look at the roster, I noticed Braden Gerlich, Coach Christy Gerlich's son, on the roster listed as a DB. Just kind of wanted to get the backstory on that and what you kind of known about him since David arrived as a family.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, after brought him to my attention, and we looked at his high school video and some of his video from junior college, and thought, man, he's a young man that can come in here, and we'll see. He's long and athletic, and he's a young man that we'll see how it goes throughout the course. He's a guy that needs to go through a spring football to kind of see where he fits into our system. And but yeah, we're excited to have him on our team, and look forward to seeing what he can become for sure.
Go back to Don Williams to end it.
Keith, I didn't get a chance to watch Houston Baptist game the other night, but from their receiver personnel, the Stearns kid, number
Yeah,
8,
yeah.
5'8", is he a slot guy?
Yeah, he's a slot. He's a speed sweep, jet sweep, reverse guy. Was a high school quarterback. So he's a guy that you got to be aware of where he is. Then Ratzliff, I believe, number 22. Yeah, he is if that thing if it's within 4 foot of him, he's going to catch it. I mean, that guy's got, he's got glue fingers. I mean, it's unreal. I've been very impressed with him. They are they're well coached, and they spread the ball around to multiple receivers. And I'm telling you, they could have easily in that football game, if you watch it, they could have scored 50 points. They got one touchdown taken away from them. They drove the ball to the 1 yard line the very first series of the game, still scored 31 points, had 38 taken off the board, and then drove all the way to the 1 yard line the very first series of the game, and then had the ball inside the 10 another series. So they could have scored a lot of points the other night. They were very impressive.
Was the Ratzliff kid number 22?
Yes, number 22. Yeah. He's obviously, he was their leading receiver. Stearns was their second, and then Stearns has a brother. I believe he's number 9. I'm not sure, but that plays that, and they do a great job of spreading it around. And I've been very impressed with the coaching and the just the execution of their offense. I mean, they had 550 yards of offense, 96 snaps. I mean that's like I said, this game is liable to. I mean, going fast on both sides. They're a tempo team, so they go fast, we go fast. I mean, it's the other night. I'm telling you, I was watching the game, and it started at 6:30. It's 10 o'clock, and it's 10 minutes and 15 seconds to go in the game. I mean, I was like, gee, many Christmas. Our game's allowed to be 6 hours. I have to take a nap.